December 1st, 4 cards today revealed. If you don't know, the final reveal of all the remaining cards is going to be on the 5th, so that will be a longer video with a lot of cards. And then on the 7th, the expansion will be released, so we won't have to wait too much longer. But today, first up is Dragon's Fury, 5 mana epic mage spell that reveals a spell from your deck and deals damage equal to its cost to all minions. Okay, so we need a name for this type of mage that wants to run expensive spells, or at least spells that cost 5 or more. It seems kind of like a new thing they're going to try with mage this expansion, so maybe we should call it Expensive Mage? Big Mage? Team 5? Okay, so Expensive Mage is all about playing expensive spells and taking advantage of having expensive spells in your deck. If the deck's designed right, you should most likely get 5 or more damage from Dragon's Fury, making it better than Dragonfire Potion. It's definitely a strong card for this deck, but can a deck of only expensive spells really make it? We'll have to see, but right now, I see the main issue with Expensive Mage is really the early game. You can throw some decent taunt or healing minions for turn 1 through 4, but if there's a lot of strong aggro decks, then the weak early game will be tough, and Dragon's Fury is too expensive against aggro, so while the card could help in control matchups, I don't think you're going to be able to run Dragon's Fury in a deck that might sometimes give you 7 damage on the board, and other times only 2 or 3. But I think Dragon's Fury playability really depends if Mage can build a deck around it. Next up is Dragon Hatcher, 9 mana 2/4 epic neutral minion that at the end of your turn recruits a dragon. I'll be really surprised if this card works. I think the design went something like this. We here at Blizzard think Recruit is strong, so minions with Recruit are going to have less stats, and we also know that at the end of your turn cards are really powerful, so it should have even lower stats. And that's how you get a 9 mana 2/4. Even when you combo this with a card like Ysera or Malygos or Deathwing as the only dragons in your deck, you need to recruit more than just one dragon to make Dragon Hatcher worth it. The ideal advantage of Dragon Hatcher is when you play it, it's a 2/4 threat on the board that could potentially get you more value. And it also summons one of the big dragons you specifically built this deck for. So instead of just paying the mana for the dragon, you pay the mana for Dragon Hatcher, and now it's 2 threats instead of 1. The biggest problem with this card is a 2/4 minion that's a threat is going to be hard to stick on the board. It's hard enough to keep Lich King or Cobalt Scalebane alive for more than one turn, so I don't think a 2/4 has a chance. You can't even combo this card with Drakari Enchanter on the same turn, so it's not like you'll be able to make a combo that can consistently give you 2 dragons. Not only this, but you've also built a deck where the only dragons are expensive and valuable, which maybe isn't much of a requirement, but if you end up drawing those dragons before Dragon Hatcher, then you're pretty screwed. The point I'm making is with this card, they've gone way too far with Recruit. It's cool that you can recruit dragons, but this card has so many problems. It's too expensive, too weak, too restrictive, too draw-based, that it just won't be worth it in the slightest. Good news is you can basically make a big dragon deck in any class now, and I have fun playing my at the end of your turn deck, which isn't really that good, but this is another fun addition. I think Dragon Hatcher had some real potential, and so you might see a meme here and there, but really there's not going to be much play on ladder. Next is Ironbark Golem, 4 mana 3/6 common druid minion with taunt that reads can only attack if you have 3 or more armor. So it's another minion maybe for taunt druid, and it actually has some potential. We know from Jade Behemoth that a 3/6 taunt stat line is pretty good on the board, and even though Ironbark isn't a Jade card, thank god, this stat line for 4 mana is going to be pretty strong, even stronger than the other 4 mana option like Shellshifter. But stats aside, the requirement for attacking or the setback of this card is pretty minimal. One of the ways you use taunt, kind of like how Cryptlord is used, is it's just used to protect your other minions, not really to attack. So while you may miss out on 3 face damage or you don't meet the requirements, Ironbark is still going to be stats on the board that your opponent is going to have to get through, and the 3 attack will clear a lot better than Cryptlord's. And so I really like the design of the requirement. It basically gives reason to make this card a 3/6 instead of a 3/5, and like I said, the trade-off is worth it. If you want, you can put more armor into your deck. If you just find yourself in a situation where you have enough armor for this to attack, then that's great. But I don't think you have to change much about your deck for this card to be worth it. So does this give Taunt Druid a chance? I don't know. They still have some cards to reveal, and they did have to nerf Spreading Plague, so something tells me that there's one more taunt card that's going to be released before we know if Taunt Druid is going to make a stand. I like the design of Ironbeak Golem, and I think it could work in about any deck as a solid card, but if Jade is still king, which I think it will be, then I think that decklist is just too competitive to fit this card in. But I'm sure we'll see Ironbark Golem in a top tier future meta deck soon. And last up, another way for Druid to get that armor is Oaken Summons. 4 mana common Druid spell that reads gain 6 armor, recruit a minion that costs 4 or less. So I think the armor is fine, but recruit is gonna fall flat in Druid. The class has a lot of solid minions, but almost all of them are choose one or battlecry cards. Honestly, it's really hard to get 4 or less costing minions in Druid that don't become really bad when you recruit them. I'll give you the list: Cryptlord, Enchanted Raven, Adeled Grizzly, Fandral, and Ironbark Golem. Out of all of the 4 or less costing minions, only 5 of them don't become worse when you recruit them, and you realistically only want to get Fandral or Ironbark to make this card good. I don't think this card will see play now or any time in the future. Well, that's all the cards for today. It was kind of a weak one, but wait a second. There's one more card. King's Bane, 1 mana, 1/3 legendary rogue weapon with Death Rattle. Shuffle this into your deck. It keeps enchantments. Praise the gods, this is what Weapon Rogue has been searching for. There were so many cool weapon buffs added in the past few expansions, now there's finally a weapon worth buffing. So you can give your 1/3 weapon poison, kill 3 minions, and then when you draw it again, it still has poison. With all of the enchantments, it's a 1 mana, 5/3 with lifesteal and poison. Do you know what this finally means? We can use Blade Fury again. And in addition, you can find ways to make this even better with lucky discoveries or just using Rogue's Death Knight hero power. You can get a lot more buffs onto this weapon. But now, I want to give an applause to Blizzard for making this a 1 mana 1/3. You don't want this card to be a burden to play in your deck. Instead, you want it to be a challenge to upgrade the weapon with relatively weak cards in your deck until it's an awesome weapon all of your own. I think this is a great design in that aspect, but there is a fundamental problem with this card. You need to draw it early enough for it to work. If you're going to put weapon buffs in your deck, you need the weapon to buff. So not only do you want to draw King's Bane early, but you also want to draw a lot of your deck so you don't have to draw the weapon again when it's shuffled back in. Perhaps Weapon Miracle Rogue may be the solution. If there's one gripe I have about this card is that it doesn't work well with my favorite weapon card so far, Doomerang. Doomerang doesn't activate the Death Rattle, nor will it keep the enchantment, so it's a shame that these two cards should never meet, for it is forbidden love. I think King's Bane is a really fun card. Unfortunately, Weapon Rogue isn't quite ready to take over the meta, but I'm sure gonna have fun trying it out this expansion. Those are all the cards for today. There's a playlist if you missed any of the other revealed cards, and feel free to subscribe if you want my opinion as more cards come out. I'll be back tomorrow for more, but until then, ta-ta.